Good day, sir. This is my video recording about Philippine policing system. Human right in police investigation. Presentation outline. Legitimate purposes of police investigation. Best practices in police investigation. International standards of human right protection. Defining torture and CITS with accompanying case studies. Practical implication of ignoring international standard. How human rights violation can be addressed by police force. Legitimate aims police investigation. Legitimate aims police investigation. Detection of crime, gathering evidence, recovery and preservation of evidence, identification of witnesses, interviewing witnesses. Best practice in police investigation. Best practices. Lawful purposeful action. Presumption of innocence, respect for confidentiality, right of silence, forensic recovery, chain of custody, building of comprehensive case, right to fair trial, disclosure of exculpatory evidence, keeping on open mind. Tunnel vision is introduced. It can affect an officer or indeed anyone involved in the administration of justice with sometimes tragic result. Any one police officer, counsel, or judge can become affected that this virus. International standard of human rights protection during police investigation. Introduction. In this process of police investigation, interviewing of witnesses, victims, and suspect personnel, searches of vehicles and premises, and in the interception of correspondence and communication, there are standards laid down in different international legal instruments what we are obligated to observe. These instruments include the UDHR, the ICCPR, the Code of Conduct for Law Enforcement, official and in-order instrument as we shall see along. International standard. These standards include everyone has the right to secure a person, Article 3, UDHR, and Article 9(1) of ICCPR. Everyone has a right to fair trial, Article 10 of the UDHR and Article 14 of the ICCPR. Everyone is to be presumed innocent until proven guilty in a fair trial. Article 11 the UDHR and Article 12 of the ICCPR. Standard of continue. No one shall be subjected to arbitrary interference with his privacy, family, home, or correspondence. Article 12 UDHR and Article 17 of ICCPR. No one shall be subjected to unlawful attack on his honor or reputation of Article 12 UDHR and ART 7 articles. Standard of continue. No pressure, physical or mental, shall be exerted on suspect, witnesses, or victims and attention to obtain information. Declaration of enforced disappearance, Article 13. Principle of summary execution, principle of torture and other inhuman or degrading treatment is absolutely prohibited. Article 5 UDHR, Article 7 ICCPR, Article 2 Code of Conduct, Article 5. Standard continue. Victim and witnesses are to be treated with compassion and consideration. Principle 4 Victim Declaration. Principle 15 Summary Execution. Confidentiality and care in the handling of sensitive information are to be exercised at all times. Article 4 Code of Conduct. No one shall be compelled to confess or to testify against himself, herself at 11 UDHR Article 14. Investigatory activities shall be conducted only lawfully and with due cause. Article 4 Code of Conduct. Neither arbitrary or nor unduly intrusive investigatory activities shall be permitted. Article 12 UDHR. Article 17 ICCPR. Investigation shall be competent, true, prompt, and impartial, principal, or summary execution. Article 9. Investigation shall serve to identify victims, to recover evidence, to discover witnesses, to discover cause, manner, location, and time of crime, to identify and apprehend perpetrator, principal on summary execution. Article 9. Crime scene shall be carefully proceed and evidence carefully collected and preserved. Principle on summary execution. Article 9, 12, and 13. Defining torture and CIDS. The right to silence. The right to remain silent is inherent in the presumption of innocence. The decision to remain silent is not an indication of guilt. The right to silence is also enshrined in International Convention, Article 14, Paragraph 3 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights state that everyone is entitled not to be compelled to testify against himself or to confess guilt. Convention Against Torture. The Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhuman, or Degrading Treatment of Punishment, CAT, entered into force on 26 June 1987 and is considered to amount to a peremptory norm of international law. The Convention creates an international crime of torture and establishes universal jurisdiction for this offense that allows any state that wishes to assert such a jurisdiction to bring torturers to justice. What is torture? Article 1 at CAT defines torture as any act by which severe pain or suffering, whether physical or mental, is intentionally inflicted on person for such purposes as obtaining from him or third person information or a confession, punishing him for an act he is or third person has committed or is suspected or having committed, or intimidating or cursing him or third person or for any reason based on discrimination of any kind, when such a pain or suffering is inflicted by or at the instigation of a which that consists or acquaintances of public official or other person acting in an official capacity. What are CIT? Article 16 of CATDT identifies a category of serious human rights abuse ancillary that of torture. Each state party shall undertake to prevent in any territory under its jurisdiction other act of cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment which do not amount to torture as defined in Article I when such acts are committed by or at the instigation of with the consist of acquaintances of public official or other person acting in official capacity. Absolutely prohibited. Physical violence, threat of violence, deliberate humiliation, mental torture, threats to family, sleep deprivation, withholding sustenance, holding, stress position, rendition to torture. Case study number, Guildford. On 5 October 1974, Era bombs exploded in two pubs in Guildford, Surrey, killing 5 people and injuring many others. After 6 weeks of investigation, the police arrested 4 suspects who soon confessed to the bombing under intense coercive pressure in 1977. Four members of an IRA unit coach in London claimed responsibility for the attack, but their claim was ignored. Sadiq it later emerged that the police had falsified their notes from the interview, and the appeal court concluded that if they had lied about this, then all the police evidence was unreliable. That four were released on 19 October 1989. After each serving 15 years in prison, and their conviction were overturned. In 1993, a film was made of the Guildford for case. In the Name of the Father was nominated for 7 Oscars and was shown as all around the world. For many people internationally, it was their first introduction to the Northern Ireland conflict, and it was greatly damaging to the UK reputation around the world. In the 1989 New York City Central Park sugar case for false confession were taken within a single investigation for teenage friend confessed during alleged interrogation to the brutal assault and rape of young woman in Central Park. The boys all later retracted their statement, saying they had only confessed because they were told they would be allowed to go home afterward. 5 boys were convicted on the basis of this confession and sent to prison. They were permanently exonerated in 2002 when the real perpetrator, an incarcerated serial rapist, provided in confession that was confirmed by DNA evidence. Energetic human rights. Refusing to cooperate with police in suspicious behavior. In a sense, people have nothing to hide. Take a human rights stand. As a police investigator, should you get to the crime through the criminal or get to the criminal through the crime? To get information from hardcore criminals, sometimes one need to apply a degree of pressure or even torture. Practical implication of ignoring international standard. Consequence of violation. Law enforcer becomes lawbreaker. Human dignity is transgressed. Erosion of crucial public confidence and support. Isolation of police from the community. Exacerbation of civil unrest. Guilty parties go free, the innocent get punished. How human rights violation can be addressed by police service. How to minimize HR violation. Preparation and use of investigation SOP. Training in modern investigation techniques. Training in use of forensic techniques. Efficient performance parameters evaluation system. Improved supervisor mechanism. Vigorous inspection and international audit. Round of student will divide into 2 teams and devise 5 questions on the content of the presentation of test. The other team, the team that answered the most questions correctly wins.